Namo Vishpraya Krishnayam Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatade Shatarne Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagna Ragnatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakopa Trubhyescha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text 5. Ta ekada tu muniya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat ta ekada tu munaya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat ta ekada tu munaya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat Sakritam sutam asinam Ta ekada tu munaya papatu hutagnaya Sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat ta ekada tu munaya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat. Ladies. Ta ekada tu munaya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat tad ekadatu munaya prata huta hutagnaya sakritam sutam asinam paprachu idam adarat. Te, the sages, ekada, one day, tu, but, muniya, sages, prataha, morning, huta, burning, huta agnaya, the sacrificial fire, sakritam, due respects, sutam, Sri Suta Goswami, asinam, seated on, paprachu, made inquiries, idam, on this, as follows. Adarat, with due regards. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. One day, after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Suta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries, with great respect, about the following matters. Translation responsively. One day, after finishing their morning duties, by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Suta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters. Purport. Morning is the best time to hold spiritual services. The great sages offered the speaker of the Bhagavatam an elevated seat of respect called the Vyasasan, or the seat of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual preceptor for all men, and all other preceptors are considered to be his representatives. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of Bhagavatam unto Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and Sri Suta Goswami heard it from him, Sri Shukadeva Goswami. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in the chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. The Goswamis do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their services most carefully, following their predecessors who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam may put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning, but this should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. This is also the way recommended in Bhagavad Gita. One must learn the transcendental subject by submissive oral reception from the right sources. Therefore, these sages address the speaker Suta Goswami with great respect. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Staya Bhutale Srimati Pladnanda Swamini Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Staya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschitade Shatarane. So thank you for having me in Navayogapit, ISKCON Slovenia. Sorry, I'll just open my notes. I'll just swap this around. Okay, so yeah, very nice. The first canto of Bhagavatam, so many wonderful verses to get us into the Srimad Bhagavatam and the whole what it's all about how, the whole science of Krishna consciousness. I'm sure first canto Bhagavatam is probably a favourite for a lot of devotees. It was the first canto that Prabhupada took to America, translated in 3 volumes, and I think it was somebody had advised Prabhupada, if you're going to take this Krishna consciousness to America, you need to take something substantial. So he translated at least the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm just vaguely remembering, like he, because he didn't know how it was going to go in America. It's such a big journey to undertake across the Atlantic. Then he decided to put everything into this first canto, and you see that there's quite lengthy purports in some places. So going beyond maybe what's in the verse itself, he's really elaborating on Krishna consciousness. So it's I think for that reason it's a very wonderful canto. And so this text 5, it's mentioned how that anyone who's teaching Srimad Bhagavatam is a representative of Srila Vyasadeva. And that's right, I was thinking about when I was asked to give the class, and then, okay, let's have a look what the verse is about. And I was like, oh, it's about, Vyasadeva and offering, the speaker, the sages offered Sutta Goswami a suitable seat of respect called the Vyasasan, the seat of Vyasa. And I thought, wow, that's such a, as devotees we know nothing's a coincidence, but of course I came here just to celebrate the Vyasa Puja of my own spiritual master, His Holiness Prahladananda Swami. So, just when we have kind of instances like this, we're reminded that Krishna's arranging everything. And I was telling Gurudev once in a class how at my work, I just kind of was helping someone. It's just like a customer service job and helping people with their government services. And so people have an online account for their government services, and people always have trouble with logging into the account. So I was helping someone with that, and they couldn't log in. So all right, you have to reset your password. But before it will let them reset the password, then it asks them a secret question and answer. And so this person, they had the secret question, what was the first street that you lived in? And I said, okay, yeah, put your answer and then I'll keep helping you. And he showed me his response. He was like, okay, what do I do now? And he showed me the response, and it was Dank Street. And just that won't mean anything to you, but the temple in Melbourne is situated on Dank Street. And I was like, oh. I was like, just to make sure, I said, which suburb is this in? And he said, yeah, Albert Park. And I thought, oh my gosh. I go to the temple on Dank Street like quite often. And then, he said, yeah, I've been there before. Like he's a man just about 50 years old, or a bit older, something. But he said he used to go there when he was like between 8 and 10 years old. So I was thinking that must have been right about when the temple opened on there, like 1975. And he said he used to go there with his friends and just go for the devotees were serving hot chips apparently. So he'd go there for hot chips and, a bit of a Western kind of food that he enjoyed. And yeah, so he said, yeah, he loved to go there, but he never went in the temple. The devotees would just kind of open the door and let him look inside, but he never went in. So I just tried to encourage him, yeah, you can go anytime. There's there's free lunch every day, and come again, and you can actually go inside the temple and see the deities. So yeah, when Krishna is always with us, making arrangements for our own Krishna consciousness and that of others. So that's kind of came to my mind when I saw this verse about Srila Vyasadeva. And it says in the purport, a representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. So we do hear this in as devotees that, if we want to be preachers, teachers, we have to repeat the message of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas. But we shouldn't actually take it to mean that we have to become a parrot, as Prabhupada said this as well, that a parrot you can train it, you can teach it to talk different words, but when you grab its throat, what comes out? It doesn't come out with what it had been trained on. So when we're teaching or giving classes, then we're repeating because we have to have, first of all, read the books, read Prabhupada's books, and tried to understand them, and then try to apply them in our devotional practice as well. So that we're not just repeating like a parrot what we've read in Prabhupada's books. We're giving it to people so that they can try to understand themselves. So that means we kind of have to think about what's being said in the books and how we can present it, thinking about the audience we have. And in that way, then people get more benefit than just a straight parrot-like repetition of, Srimad Bhagavatam or Prabhupada's other books. And because that's, we see that we're attracted to devotees who can explain Srimad Bhagavatam, in an attractive way, and that maybe makes sense to us. It's not just the surface level, but they're going into the meaning and trying to explain it for us for our benefit. And also that's the other thing, that although we're repeating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we're all servants of Krishna's, we're all spirit souls, but we maintain our individuality. That's Krishna's first teaching in Bhagavad Gita, 2:12. Maybe I'll just bring that up. No internet in here. 2:12. Does anyone know? All these. There's a Bhagavad Gita. Oh my God. So conditioned to technology, aren't we? Don't know what a book is anymore. So, na sveva ham jatu nasam, na swam neme janadipaha, na chaivana bhavishyama, savevai mataparam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So, we are individuals. Of course, Prabhupada wanted the first, the Mayapur festival. He wanted the GBC to talk about unity in diversity. So we don't want to get excessive with, I'm an individual, which is kind of what we see in particularly Western culture, that, I'm different from every single other person there is, and, even though we might be part of the same group, but I'm still different in some way. And no kind of not seeing any common ground. So, you know, of course, with everything, there's some medium balance. We're not zombies. We are individual devotees, but at the same time, we're all devotees, so we have to have that kind of understanding. And so, like that, when we're giving class, for example, when we're trying to decide on a spiritual master, then we hear from all different devotees, because they're going to present Krishna consciousness according to their own realizations and understanding, and their own personality, unique personality. So they're all representing Srila Prabhupada, presenting his message, but according to our own personality, we'll be attracted to certain personalities and feel like we can surrender to someone. So like that's important when we're giving classes, that we're not negating our own individuality and personality, that we're surrendered to our previous acharyas and we're presenting their message according to our own realizations and understanding. Let's go back to there. So there's some very important words or similar translations in this verse. The Sakritam, Sakritam, and what's the other one? Adarat. So Sakritam meaning due respects, and Adarat with due regards. So of course this is, you know, a very important topic for devotees to learn. As Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichana, Troy Vasa Hishanana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. So it's really our minds that give us the most trouble in the material world and in Krishna consciousness when we're trying to engage in the process of devotional service. I really liked, I was here a class Prahlad Maharaj gave recently about the process of bhakti is easy, the hearing and the chanting, and it can be done joyfully performed, as Shikshastakam says as well. That's Bhagavad Gita 9.1. Joyfully performed. Hearing and chanting and taking prasadam, associating with devotees. The process is actually easy, but getting ourselves, or specifically our mind, to engage in the process, that's the hard bit. Like when we have to wake up early, for example, our mind doesn't want to do it. So, you know, we can miss out on this easy process due to the, you know, complaints and pushings of the mind. And then so, amanina manadena, offering respects to, and not expecting any respect in return, this is on the level of the mind as well. You know, it's our mind that's like seeing good and bad, and seeing the negative in people, just always wants to criticize and complain. So this is what we're trying to, you know, dampen down and subdue the mind to make it submissive and genuinely offer respect to people, and especially devotees. So once a devotee asked Prabhupada, like every time we come into the temple, we offer our obeisances to Prabhupada, and at that time, at some places he was physically present, and a devotee asked Prabhupada, what if I don't have the feeling to offer obeisances to the spiritual master every time? In other words, like, why should I do it if it's just mechanical? And Prabhupada said, just do it and the feeling will come. So that's kind of like what Bhakti Yoga is about, or specifically sadhana bhakti. Have to neglect the mind and just engage our body, mind and words in the activities of devotional service. Shishi Panchatapa ki. Engage our body and mind and words in the activities of devotional service just to purify ourselves. Our mind doesn't want to do it, doesn't feel like doing it, but you have to do it anyway, so that you can be purified. If you don't do it, you won't be purified, and you won't ever awaken those feelings, actual genuine feelings of wanting to offer obeisances and offer respects and glorify the Lord and the devotees. So that was a nice instruction from Prabhupada. Just do it and the feeling will come. So if we can appreciate devotees, then that is a step toward that genuine appreciation and feeling for Krishna. Because we know that Krishna and his devotees are never separate. Prabhupada always wanted that the paintings of Krishna, for example, they should always have a devotee there. And of course, Shyam Sundar, he's playing his flute. The flute is a devotee. And so whether it's the flute or the cows and the cowherd boys, Krishna's always with his devotees. So we can't separate Krishna from his devotees and think, I'm just worshipping Krishna and I don't care about these devotees and they're not so advanced anyway or something. Mind will come up with all sorts of criticisms and things. So, yeah, we're humbling our mind, humbling our mind and appreciating devotees. So if we can appreciate devotees, then that also purifies our heart, so that we can have feeling for Krishna. So with the association of devotees, we get from Nectar of Instruction how to associate devotees. Where's that one? Oh, that's a long purport. Okay, that's not working. So Nectar of Instruction, verse 4. Do we have a Nectar of Instruction? No, not good enough to remember the verse. Dadati pradigrinanti punkte pojayate chaiva. Third line. That's prasadam. Offering respect in the mind. Waiting Mukunda. Shadvitam Priti Lakshana. So there's actually a devotee called Priti Lakshana in Melbourne. Thanks, Prabhu. So the loving exchanges with devotees, thanks, Prabhu. Dadati pratigrinati guyam akyati prichati punkte bhajayate chaiva shadvitam Priti Lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Yeah. So like the real, because we can sit down, the real thing is the revealing our mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially. That's sort of what it all revolves around in terms of loving exchanges with devotees, because the offering prasad and offering gifts in charity and accepting prasadam, these are just ways, these are openings to reveal our mind to other devotees. we sit down for breakfast and lunch prasadam, and then I've come here, I don't know any of the devotees, but we sit down with prasadam and meet each other and get introduced to each other, and then develop a friendship from there. So, and then, ask questions about, how long have you been devotee, what's your service, etc. So these having prasadam with devotees and maybe even offering gifts, accepting gifts, these are just ways to facilitate that loving exchange of revealing our mind with devotees. If we feel close to devotees, have these preliminary kind of loving exchanges, then we'll feel comfortable to open our mind to devotees. And that's very important, whether it's, it doesn't just have to be at the temple, but it can be in our household as well, that we have a trusting and nice relationship with our partners if devotees are married, so that we feel safe and comfortable to talk about, reveal our mind and ask questions about Krishna consciousness, talk about how we're going in our sadhana bhakti. So that's the importance of the loving exchanges. And of course, we don't have to intimately associate with every single devotee. It's natural that we have a few like-minded devotees that we're closer with. But with every devotee, we still, at the very least, offering respects in the mind, as it says in the next verse of Nectar of Instruction, verse 5. So that we can kind of categorize the devotees. We have to use our intelligence to see, is the devotee sort of senior to me? So if in that case, then I should offer my service and humble respects to. If they're my equal, then we maintain friendship and create friendship with them. If they're our junior, then we offer mercy and guidance, and which is also a form of friendship. So in all of these cases, we're never seeing ourselves as better than anybody. We're always a servant. So even when we're giving instructions to younger devotees, then we're serving them. We're their servant. And as Gurudev says, that's always the example of, in the very, very topmost devotee, Srimati Radharani, she never thinks herself a great devotee. She's always the servant of the other devotees. That verse 5 of Nectar of Instruction, it's instructing us to faithfully serve and associate and faithfully serve that devotee who is advanced in Krishna consciousness and advanced in not criticizing devotees. So that doesn't only have to be our initiating spiritual master. We shouldn't read that verse in Nectar of Instruction and think we only serve and faithfully serve and associate with our own spiritual master. There are many devotees that can fit that category. Just like I was fortunate to be placed in the association of Nisimhaseva Prabhu and sorry for and it's very obvious that he's very advanced in Shravanam particularly. He's got there's always kirtan and things playing in the room, and so it's like, yes, of course I have to serve this devotee. So there's always going to be, and it's not just about age either. If non-devotees can be advanced in age, but they're not advanced in knowledge at all. So it's not necessarily just automatic that are devotees older than us, so they'll fit that description of somebody that we should associate with and faithfully serve. But a lot of the time, particularly if they've been practicing Krishna consciousness for so many decades, and you actually see that in older devotees, this is a symptom of that constant practice of devotional service, that their heart becomes soft, and they're very, very friendly with everybody. You can see there's hardly or zero propensity to criticize others, and that's why everybody loves them, because they're not gonna. I mean, they can instruct and point out our faults and say, no, you did this wrong, but we're happy to accept it because we see that they're doing it out of love, and they're not. Sometimes we might instruct somebody and we're sort of, it's tinged with envy or something. We want to sort of put somebody down and remind them who we are. So that's, of course, nobody's going to take instruction like that. So this is also another point to be very, very careful when we're instructing devotees. We might think that we're senior to them, spiritually or material, but if they don't see us in that way, then rather than accepting our instructions, they might take offense, and we might have committed a Vaishnava aparad. Prahlad Nanda Maharaj, he says that's why he likes to give class, because he's sort of free to speak openly to a general audience and instruct people that way. But in our personal dealings, one-on-one, then we have to be very careful, use our intelligence to know how this person sees me. Like, of course, for just an example, I've come here, first time I'm not going to start bossing people around or something, instructing, no, that's wrong, something. This is, So, yeah, we can only think about, giving guidance to somebody when we have a relationship first, as mentioned with the loving exchanges. So, in this way, this can, avoid unnecessary conflict in devotee circles, and make it more harmonious for serving the Sankirtan mission. If there are issues to be addressed, then generally we should raise that with somebody senior to ourselves who does have whatever person we're some issue with, then they see that other senior person as an authority, so we should raise it with them. For example, going to the temple president perhaps and saying, oh, this has happened, and let them assess the situation. Because I sort of remember, maybe it's just because Krishna gives us remembrance, and I remember years ago in the old kitchen at the temple in Melbourne, and I think temple kitchens especially get very passionate, don't they? Like all the heat, and you're on a deadline to get the offering ready or something, and so it's like a bit fast paced and passionate. People can get a bit not sane or something. So yeah, I think I was doing something in the kitchen, I can't remember, cooking, and then there was some other devotees cooking for their other program, and it was getting very messy in the kitchen. I was food scraps on the floor or something. It wasn't being put in the bin, and I just kind of flipped out. It's like, what's going on here? There's rubbish everywhere. Can't you just pick it up and put it in the bin and change the rubbish bin? All this stuff, and I just remember getting very, agitated, and it's like, oh, and as Prahlad Maharaj was saying in a class the other day, that we these secondary rasas, one of them being Raudra, anger. So we want to experience the material rasa of anger. So like that, and then I just, I remind myself of that situation, like, no, you can't do that with devotees. You've got to just take a breather, take a step back first before you speak to them, and humbly submit your displeasure, or say, look, can we please do this differently? Because otherwise we're at the risk of offending devotees. And I think one of my Siksha gurus says, this is really the main thing that holds us back in our advancement is offences toward devotees especially. So we need to be humble and have loving relationships, basically. I don't want to go too long, but today's as this verse was saying, that about submissive inquiries, and that's described in Bhagavad Gita 4:34. Tadvidi pranipatene pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaniyas tatvadashna. And I always love how Prahlada Maharaj, he knows that whole purport by heart. I don't know how many times I've heard him say it just verbatim, and something to aspire to. And but Tatvidi, because Krishna prior to that verse was explaining all about different kinds of sacrifice, and says Maharaj says Tat, it's an easy word to remember in Sanskrit. You just put in a H and it means that. And so that knowledge of all the different sacrifices and how to do them, you have to go to a spiritual master to understand. So we have Sankirtan Yagya today. I think, as I've heard, the first time they're having the monthly Sankirtan festival here. And what I've learnt from, honestly, I haven't, to just be transparent, I haven't done a lot of book distribution in Melbourne, just very tiny amounts. And I was out on Saturday with the Harinam and just tried to follow in the footsteps of Doman Prabhu. And I think eventually one person took a book, and she had already met devotees in Los Angeles. So I always notice that a lot of times when people take a book, they've already kind of had some connection with devotees or prasadam. And so she gave $1. And I was like, yeah, this is... So, but because it's not about the result, it's not about the material result, that how much Lakshmi we collected. That can happen. It's up to Krishna's arrangement, and a lot of books can go, if we have the desire, then a lot of books can go out, and of course that's going to generate a lot of Lakshmi. But Prahlada Maharaj explains that the main thing is it's kind of like an experiment in bhakti, that you're putting yourself out there to be much more dependent on Krishna than you would be in your normal life, and especially just living at the temple perhaps. We get into our comfort zones. Like at my work, I enjoy my job. It's customer service. It feels natural to me. And then you get very expert at something. So you feel kind of safe and assured. But then when you go out on Sankirtan, it's a whole new, it's you and the whole wide world out there, apparently. And so you can feel that a little bit fear. But that's the opportunity. That's what the opportunity is, to overcome that fear by depending on Krishna, and just wanting to do something for your spiritual master's pleasure, for Prabhupada's pleasure, and for Lord Gauranga's pleasure, to try to spread the Sankirtan movement. So we just kind of have to, get over our false ego of like, they're gonna reject me or something, they're gonna say no or just ignore me. it's our false ego that is under attack. You know, we can't imagine, we hate the thought of our false ego as somebody ignoring us and walking right past us without any concern at all. Like, oh my gosh, what just happened? But you know, that's the purification. So this is the main reason we do Sankirtan, is to, you know, as well as distributing books and inviting people to temple, inviting to programs and for prasadam, Sunday feast. But main thing is for our own purification in a very, you know, like accelerated way. That dependence on Krishna is what really accelerates our devotional service, to see that we're not independent at all, we're completely dependent on Krishna. Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Any comments or questions? Thank you very much. Krantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Nitai Gaura Pramanande.